the men, you know, get to the real big boys.
Only those who are attacking them.
Do you realise what you're saying?
Yes, I do realise what I'm saying. Do you realise what you're saying?
What you are saying is that really it's okay to kill men.
No, that's what you said. No. I said only when someone's attacking you. So you may think if someone's attacking you, you can't defend yourself. But everyone is allowed to defend themselves.
Well, who's
read the Jewish Torah? Absolutely, the Jews are always defending themselves. Absolutely, with permission from God. And so can Muslims defend themselves. And the Quran says, when the other side make peace, lean towards peace with them. So, I hope you're enjoying your Jack Daniels.
Yeah. So do I.
Yeah. Good. So, everyone's allowed to defend themselves. Muslims can, Jews, Christians, atheists, anyone can defend themselves.
Even educated.
Absolutely. So there's no need for all this conflict in the world.
I quite agree.
Yeah. So it all stems from people's religion going against their religion or interpreting it badly.
From naughty
That's
people.
where it all comes from. The Christians used to do it as well. We talk at the moment about the Muslims killing each other, and they are Muslims killing each other.
Anyone killing anyone here?
If you go back to the Second World War,
no, thank you.
55 million people, mostly Christians killing other Christians. That's what it was. You go back to the First World War, 25 to 30 million dead, mostly Christians killing other Christians. When we talk about the Muslims killing the Muslims, as if something odd about them, don't forget that's what we were doing until recently. And in fact, even more recent than that, if you go to the Balkans, Catholic Croatia was fighting against Christian Orthodox Serbia. Christians killing Christians.
Naughty, naughty, naughty.
Within this country, United Kingdom, over in Northern Ireland, there were Catholics and Protestants killing each other.
Naughty.
Christians killing Christians.
Very naughty.
So it's right for us to point out the Muslims should be killing each other in Syria, Iraq, etc. But don't forget, we were doing exactly the same thing. And we got over it. So were the Muslims.
I'm thinking of going to Mars.
I think you think you're already there.
I might already be there.
Yeah. I expect the Martians are killing each other. Yeah.
No, they all speak Russian.
Right. So now we look at Assad. I don't like President Assad. He's killed 400,000 of his own people. And people say, oh, the Muslims, what are they doing? Killing their own people.
Did he know all of them?
Do you know?
Did he know all of them? No.
If you go back to Russia,
know all of them.
when Russia was under Stalin, Stalin killed 21 million of his own people.
Very naughty.
And that's the Russian statistics, by the way.
Oh, you don't like Russian?
So Islam was not true.
I like Russian female,
According to the Russian statistics, Stalin was responsible for the 21 million deaths of Russian people. But by enforced starvation, all kinds of things like that. All the gulags. But some people still support Stalin. Some people still support Stalin. The Russians don't. The Russians have removed all the statues of Stalin, but the far left in Europe still worship Stalin and are apologists for mass killings.
It's not the same Stalin. Maybe there were two Stalin.
Just because I question your figures.
So, I'd say my figures, the figures that the Russians give. The figures that the Russians give. But maybe it was only 19 million.
3 million.
Tell you what, even if that man's right, yes, apologists for Stalin, 3 million is still a lot more than Assad have killed of his own people. So, and it's right for us to point out what the Muslims are doing is wrong. I wish they pointed out more what we were doing is wrong. I wish the Muslims would say, Northern Ireland, get your act together.
Okay, so
Christians, stop killing each other. It's good to criticise other people. And you don't have to be perfect to say somebody else is doing something wrong. Some people say, oh, America can't talk about what the Muslims are doing wrong because they've done things wrong in the past. No country in the world's perfect. By that logic, no one can criticise everyone. But do you know why the West is so successful? We allow criticism and we thrive on it. Our government in the past, what have they wanted? They could do what they wanted because they didn't have elections, no one could get rid of them. But now with democracy, if our government does something wrong, we can say, right, they've done something wrong, let's get rid of them, try another party. That's why the West has been so successful. It's right for us to criticise Gaddafi when he's killing his own people, or Assad in Syria when he's killing his own people, etc., etc. And they are right to criticise us when we do something wrong. You know, although we legally aren't allowed to beat our wives, because of the alcohol in the West,
women.
loads of women in Europe and America get beaten by their drunken husbands. And I wish the Muslims would criticise us more. They ought to be pointing out, your wives are being beaten up, sometimes killed. People are dying in motor accidents because we're drinking too much alcohol. I wish they would point that out.
This is such bullshit, it really is.
I point it out, I wish the Muslims would point it out more. I say that anybody who's caught drinking and driving or beating their wives, their punishment will be taken to Cairo on a Friday night and see people having a good time without the use of alcohol. You can have a nice life without the use of alcohol.
But how do you account for the fact that I'm an extremely reasonable and very intelligent person? Yeah?
Well, prove it to us that you can make sensible comments instead of just silly
You won't
ones.
allow it because you're a religious...
You know, the Muslims aren't making
You're
silly
a
comments.
religious
The man with
fanatic.
the alcohol is making all the silly comments.
Is this alcohol or is it just a can?
Jack Daniels, it says.
No, it's a can. This guy is obviously mentally ill. He thinks the can is...
No, I never said the can's speaking to me.
You did.
I said the one person
You
here
said-
is making... When we're talking about women beating up, the one man who's making jokes about it is a man with a can saying Jack Daniels.
I'm making a joke about your comment and not about physical attack.
So I comment about the men with alcohol attacking their wives, and you think that's something to make fun of? Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
Can you be more?
Doesn't surprise
Can you
me.
be more?
Anyway, sadly, there are people who find women being attacked a joke. It's all right. It's all right.
Did I say
Got to
that?
accept that.
Did I
Accept
say
that. Anyway, so it's right for Muslims to be able to criticise the West.
You're a politician.
And now I'm going to start criticising the Muslim world.
Oh.
I won't be criticising the religion of Islam because actually the Quran is a good book, mostly. I don't agree with all of it, but I don't agree with all the Torah either. So, notwithstanding a few bits of the Quran which I disagree with, most of the Quran's a good book. Some people say the Quran is anti-Semitic. Rubbish. The few bits where the Jews are criticised, all that's doing is the same as the Jewish Torah did. God in the Torah was criticising the Jews for what they did and punishing them. The Quran is just pointing out what the Quran said, what the Jewish Torah says.
Human rights record.
So, if the Muslims adhere to their Quran correctly, the Quran will be a good book, the Muslim world will be a good place.
Why doesn't God like
You know, during the golden age of Islam, which lasted for 700 years, the Muslim world was the most advanced place on the planet. They had the first and best universities. They made advances in medicine, astronomy, mathematics. Fantastic. Meanwhile, the Christian world was full of people like him. And that's why God wasn't blessing us.
I'm not Christian.
We were living... I didn't say you were Christian, I said it's full of people like him. So, yes, I know. Yes.
What do you people like him?
People would rather drink alcohol than use their brains.
No one ever drank alcohol.
In the European countries,
No one ever
outside the
drank
Muslim
alcohol
world,
and lived.
we were living through the Dark Ages.
You can't
We were killing
drink
Christians.
alcohol. It's not
Catholics
possible.
were killing non-Catholic Christians. We had the death penalty. We were burning witches, alleged witches, at the stake. We weren't in a good shape in Europe, whereas the Muslims, who were following their Quran, had Allah's blessings. Now it tells you in the Quran, all blessings and good things come from Allah. So Allah was choosing to bless the Muslim world, but Europe was not getting much in the way of blessings. We're in the Dark Ages.
Oh, what a bummer.
But 700 years ago, that all changed. The Muslim leaders, the religious leaders, started straying from the Quran. And the political leaders were interested in staying in power. So the Muslim world stagnated. But at the same time, in the European world, they started going back to their Christian gospel that God had sent down.
That's a coincidence.
And then the Christian world started making progress. And that was good.
Can you tell me the story?
So now the Christian world is in a better shape than the Muslim world. In the past, it was the other way round. And if the Jews, Christians and Muslims all stick roughly to their own holy book, or at least are good, you can be a good atheist and still get God's blessings, then there'll be very little difference between the Muslim world and the Christian world. I'm looking forward to seeing what will happen when the Muslim world gets democracy and therefore much better leaders.
Well, that's never going to happen, is it?
It has already happened in some Muslim countries.
Where?
Have you ever heard of Tunisia?
Saudi?
I said, have you heard of Tunisia?
Saudi?
Yes. See, he doesn't. I said to him, have you heard of Tunisia? I said it twice.
I asked you a question.
No.
I asked you a question.
You did. You asked me where. You asked me where would it happen.
Libya.
Your question is, where would it happen?
I asked you a question.
When I pointed out the answer to his question,
What,
which
Tunisia?
is changed, I
But
said
there was a bomb last
Tunisia.
year, Tunisia.
Great. They now have
It's not democracy,
democracy in Tunisia.
It's not a democracy.
I'm glad he doesn't like
But
it.
it's not a democracy, is it?
But it is.
What is a democracy?
It used to have a
What is
dictator.
a democracy
Now they have elections.
Oh, yeah.
Great. If you don't know what
So does Palestine.
if you don't know what elections
Palestine
are,
have elections, right?
you have everyone is allowed to stand for elections, and everyone has got the vote.
That doesn't make
and
it
you have an
democracy, does
independent
it?
media.
Doesn't make
In
it
Tunisia, they have all those things. It is a democracy.
No, it's
well
not.
done, well
No,
done,
it's not.
Tunisia. Well done, Tunisia.
So why did that guy from Tunisia do that crazy thing?
Yeah, that bad
Because he was
thing.
not a government official, he was
Because that's
somebody who lived in
democracy.
Germany, not in Tunisia.
That's democracy.
He was German and he carried out those attacks. Yes? In Tunisia, they don't generally do that.
Really?
There are some bad guys in Tunisia, as there are bad guys in America and Britain and everywhere else.
Speaking about Nice,
But it doesn't mean that Tunisia is not a democracy.
She's not nice.
Tunisia is a democracy. So is Malaysia. So is Indonesia. Indonesia didn't used to be a democracy. It was under Christian Dutch rule. The Dutch didn't rule Tunisia as a democracy. It was only when the Dutch got out that eventually the Indonesians got democracy for themselves. We in the West supported their dictator in Indonesia, but now they've got democracy and they're much better off for it. Well done, Indonesia.
Right.
Bangladesh, ever since independence, has had democracy and has made a lot of improvements in that time.
Does that extend to
Some
the East
people would like
Timorese?
to pretend there are no democracies in the Muslim world.
So why do atheists get murdered?
Get an education's what I say. Pardon?
Why do atheists get murdered in